Danny, today, Friday, it's a great day to have you on board the Transatlantic. That has been an overdue, honestly.
Thank you, Simone. Pleasure to be here.
Okay, look, I prepared for you like 7 questions, like the 7 C's. We call it like the 7 C's interview, and I'm gonna go with the first one, okay? Okay, if you were to take a stroll at the very bottom of the ocean, the pressure from the water would push your body very much, causing any space that's filled with air to collapse. The bottom of the sea is where our limits are made transparent. Now imagine taking a stroll at the bottom of the advertising business, where our professional limits exist. What would be the equivalent of that pressure that at the bottom of the ocean is applied to the body? For instance, will political games, bureaucracy, cause creativity to collapse? How does a young kid in this business keep floating without having his or her body pushed in?
Wow. Yeah, interesting. I can imagine at the bottom of the ocean, probably the greatest ideas any creator's ever had have been tossed overboard and never to be seen again. Yeah, I maybe the pressure, that thing that's pushing us, is the maybe the fear of facing economic volatility. It's and I'm saying that it's a weird thing for a creative to say, but I feel that pressure now. I feel the pressure from whether we're going to have a recession or we're not going to have a recession, or the headlines people are believing, maybe the group think that that fear often leads to the collapse of creativity. Creativity that can have real actual impact. And I think that it can be a daily combination, right, of limited budgets and short-term thinking and short-term solutions in favor of big brand building ideas. Warren Buffett owns Berkshire Hathaway, and Geico is one of those companies within his company. And he always has, his famous bad news is an investor's best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when the bad news lets you buy a piece of the American future at a low cost, he's one to double down when things are not looking good. And it was the way Geico operated in the bad times. Economic downturn means it's time to press the gas, right? Mm-hmm. You can buy inventory cheaper. We can be out in front of people more often for less money, and we can be the ones when you come out of that downturn that people remember. So I think the pressure of uncertainty, economic uncertainty, can crush the notion of creativity.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that economics is something that impacts creativity on any level. Yeah, I can think a lot of writers that, for instance, or filmmaker that they wrote a movie or they wrote a book out of like necessity rather than like, a creative like stimulus. Many books were written that way. Many films that were made that way. I think like we are not an exception, and I'm with you. I mean, like these times are like extremely like jittering, because you can do like really great, but then like bad news and it's a snowball, and it's like in mental health it goes with it, and it's really like sad, but
at the bottom of I'm sure you know this because you know a lot of things. There's also, right, the hypothermal vents on the seafloor, where this hot fluid and the cold water mix, and that's energy.
But there is another thing. There's another thing that is actually interesting. If you made it to the bottom of the ocean, which is impossible because there is a limit that you can go down, on your way up, if you went too far down, you're gonna suffer from brain damage because of like resurfacing. And I do believe, like, based on the answer you gave me, whenever like we hit a recession and you have to reset and start all over again. If you lose your job, you get let go. You have to start over again. There is a brain damage that is suffered by the person.
Yes,
And that
there
brain
is.
damage, like no matter what, is gonna stay there. Those are scars, are gonna remain there. So there's another parallel that we can build on that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds like we need healing.
Yes,
Out of these
exactly.
things, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Second question. I can't think of the word rain without associating with Purple Rain, the song of the master. It may be that my thinking worked like the 6 strings of the guitar of Purple Rain. I don't know. I'm sure you know, because of course I read that you are like a great fan of, like, you know, Prince, but Purple Rain was originally conceived as a country song. The legendary artist Steve Nicks received a 10-minute instrumental version of Purple Rain from Prince with a request to write down the lyrics. And she felt too overwhelmed to do so. She really replied, I don't know if I can do that. This proved that great ideas not only surprise us, but scare the shit out of us. When was last time you were scared, spooked by an idea that you say, wow, this is intimidating?
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask, did you read my bio? Or is this just a random Prince question? Which
No, I did. Of course, I'm first of all, I'm a great fan of Prince, but every time I pen down the questions, I spend at least a day to research about the person I'm talking to. This is not random.
I couldn't imagine it was.
No, this is not random. There's
I was
another
sure you
question.
did your research.
Yeah, I did my research. I did my homework. There is another question apparently about comedy, and I know that you are like very fond of comedy as well. So
yeah,
I did my homework.
You sure did. Scared. Yeah, I know Stevie Nicks said I can't do it. It's too much for me, which
Right.
Stevie Nicks saying that is saying something, because she's amazing. I think the thing that I don't remember being intimidated by a great idea necessarily, but there've been quite a few times where I've thought this is too much for me. Probably stepping into this CCO role, I thought this is too much for me. But more often, what frightens me is that I take what is the seed of a great idea, and I either don't see it, and I don't push it to become something real, or that I take a great idea and I unintentionally crush it before it can break through the concrete and become some beautiful rose. That scares me the most, that I'm either not doing, and in both cases, I think I'm not doing my job. I'm either not helping a creative take an idea and not asking the right questions, and giving the right input so that they can make it something, or that they have something and I just don't see it, and I kill it, and then it haunts me if I see it somewhere else in real life, and it's great. So in that way, it's too much. I get scared of those two scenarios.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's very admirable of you. I think like it's very humbling to actually listen to something like this, because usually someone like at your level would never like admit this kind of fear, like, you know, would never like state this kind of fear, but I found so refreshing. So thanks for your answer.
absolutely.
Third question. By definition, a Sea Shepherd's sole mission is to protect and conserve the wood, ocean, and marine wildlife. A Sea Shepherd is a true vigilante. Now, before joining Martin, and you see, I did my homework.
Yeah, you did.
You co-founded Vigilante. I say in Italian, I don't know how you pronounce it now, but in Italian we say Vigilante.
That works.
An ad agency focused on leveraging pop culture for brands. The name reminds me of the words sheltering and protecting. In fact, in Italian, we had exactly the same word, vigilante. Now, if you were officially inside the title of cultural vigilance in 2023, what would you protect from this culture right now? What would that thing that you say culturally, this need to be protected?
Well, this may not be culturally what I want to protect, but I am sure this is my desire is to protect our industry. I feel that it's often and recently kind of under attack. It feels like it is actually, and it feels like it's happening slowly, and maybe we haven't noticed, but shrinking budgets and being asked to do more with less, and then I think we're even being devalued, if not undervalued. Not by everyone, but it feels like this kind of slow creeping reaction to things that makes me want to stand up and say we're really, really valuable people. The brands that understand that, know it, and value us, and I feel like I want to protect that science and art of creativity, because I know what we do leads to the success of our clients, and really great clients know that. And I'm feeling mama bearish, wanting to protect the thing that I've worked a long time doing, and the thing that I see young people wanting to get into, and want to make sure that the industry gets the respect I think it deserves. So I feel like a vigilante under your definition of protecting, and I want to protect the integrity of what we do.
Was the definition vigilante when you had that company, was that the intent?
No. The vigilante name was a more traditional definition. So the vigilante, they're self-appointed, so they're appointed officials that are meant to uphold the law. And then there are those self-appointed who believe that the legal authority isn't doing the job correctly.
Right.
So a vigilante was created to take a non-traditional route to get to solutions, because maybe the legal agencies were lacking.
Okay.
Right. It was a time where we were looking at things like hip hop culture in the early 90s, late 80s, when it wasn't front page news, or wasn't used in every other song and every other video.
It wasn't mainstream like today. Yeah.
It was not mainstream. And we believed that there was something there, and that in that case, the legal agencies, the traditional agencies, didn't understand, but we knew that the influence that it had. So we were out in the world trying to convince people that there was a way to reach an audience in a different way. So vigilante was the opposite of what, and we were joint venture with Leo Burnett, which was a traditional agency. So vigilante was kind of the antithesis of Leo Burnett in that way.
It's so interesting that we uncover a different meaning to the word.
Yes, I like your meaning, though. It's our meaning's a pretty aggressive gunslinging mentality meaning, but it was deliberate because we were trying to be something counter culture.
Okay, look, here's a myth that needs to be debunked once and for all. That drinking salt water does not make you crazy. I always believe that, like, if you get stranded like in the middle of the ocean, instead of drinking water, you get crazy. You actually do not get crazy. But what it does to you, it throws your electrolytes into imbalance, and that affects your function, like, your mind function and your body function. That's like, so colloquialism would be make you crazy, but it does not really make you crazy. So let's shift this like to our industry. I think our industry is filled with myth. If there was one myth that you were to debunk and say, this is like bullshit, like, what would that be?
It's probably a belief outside the industry, maybe inside. So, I love what you just said, because I'm a junkie for one-line statistics. I love things like so the average human attention span was 12 seconds, and now it's 8.
Right.
So less than a goldfish. Not sure how they figure out the attention span of a goldfish, but less than a goldfish. Which I think has been translated into people don't want to spend time with communication, with advertising, which means, unfortunately means maybe we believe that ads and communication needs to be short. So the shorter the better. 6 seconds is good.
Right.
But on the other side, almost 80, a little over 70% of Americans admit to binge watching. And the average is 3 hours, over 3 hours. So clearly, while we may have short attention spans, that's only true for stuff we don't like or care about or are interested in. Because if we find something we like, we will spend hours and hours and hours.
Right.
So I think the myth that follows a short attention span means the work we need to do needs to be shorter. I just argue it just needs to be more interesting.
Absolutely.
And if we create things that people want.
Do you think that's, because I totally agree with you on that. There is a difference the way we consume, like, for instance, a film, a movie, or like, you know, or a TV show, and then all this with the introduction of like multiple screen. The time we spend, even if we spend like 2 hours or 3 hours watching the show, is very fragmented. You may, like, you know, start watching and then like something drags your attention, and you're on the phone, and you then you put the phone away, go back to the screen, and then notice that with myself. And what I do, for instance, to maintain my attention span on a acceptable level, I'm an avid reader, but I commit to read every single day for at least 1 hour without touching anything, without literally like going anywhere. Don't let my eyes go anywhere.
Yeah.
I assure you that is actually difficult. And I've always been an avid reader since I was a kid. And I remember how easy it was before the introduction of the internet, the multiple screens. How easy it was for me, was the only way I knew it. But now I really need to force myself to spend an hour away from that. Have you noticed a reduction of attention span in you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not even disagreeing that our attention spans are short, and all of that happens, right? Now I'm watching a movie and I think of an actor and I need to remember what that actor was in, and go Google that actor in the middle of the show. So I am certainly not saying that.
Right.
I am agreeing our attention spans are shorter. I'm just arguing that the direct translation has been that means everything we make has to be for a short attention span.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I would think that would actually, what that probably means is we need to create content that lives in all of those places that are connected. So when I stop to go Google that actor, something draws me back to the thing I'm doing. So yeah, you probably need to sit in a closet with a flashlight and read. So all you can do is see the words on the page. But I hear you. And I hate myself when I do it. I really do. I said, I'm engrossed in this movie. Why am I stopping to Google? I could do it later, or I could not do it at all, because it doesn't really matter. It's almost impossible unless the phone's not there, the tablet's not there. It's impossible. Unless you just put them in other rooms.
Yeah. It's almost like sometimes what I tell myself to accept is to accept this impossibility to like, you know, it's like if you were to, it's just a different time, you know. It's like you have to like get on the mindset, look, you can't live. It's like if you're trying to live the way they used to live in the 1800s, like, you know, you wouldn't be able. So of course, like, you know, 40 years ago, it's not the 1800s, but still, like, you know, before internet came along, it's a different way of living, and it's like that is gone. It's forever gone, and it's like, you know, now it's different time. But yeah, the consequences are like scary at times. Anyway,
it's why I still love going to a movie theater, because I don't do anything but watch the movie. I won't pick up my phone.
Guys, it's true. Yeah, you locked in.
You're locked, and it's communal. and you're laughing with people together and you're jumping at a scene of people together, and most people are not, some people, which makes me crazy, most people are not doing anything but watching the film and eating popcorn. And
Oh man, it's funny because in America, it's like, oh, I haven't been like in movie theater in Europe for a long time, but the difference between like an American movie theater and like a European movie theater is like the sides, right? Like everything. Of course, like, just recently I went to watch like, A Man Called Otto, like with Tom Hanks at the movie theater. And you have this giant ship that becomes like pretty much bed. You can lift and I see people not just coming in with like popcorn, but coming in with blankets and pajama pants. and that's like really
I haven't seen the blanket yet, but that's good. That's good.
crazy,
Hey,
man.
it's cold in theaters. I understand.
Yeah. Okay, look, backwash waves are nothing but counter or reverse waves that move towards the ocean instead of traveling towards the coast. We naturally tend to look at the waves in forward mode, but there is a counter mode too. Inspired by this fact, I want to throw a challenge at you. We naturally try to always pitch ourselves into the business. For instance, you're just a young creative, you have to pitch yourself into the business. But imagine for a second to pitch yourself out of this business. What would it be? What would it be your I'm out of this elevator pitch?
Simone, can I do this without getting fired? Is that possible? Well, this needs a disclaimer, because the things I'm going to say I don't believe necessarily, but it's what I would say if I'm trying to pitch myself out of this business. Okay, is that fair?
Oh, of course it's fair.
All right, so let's see. All right, my name is Danny Robinson. I've worked 3 decades in the ad business. I don't like most commercials. I'm annoyed by pre-roll. I think banner ads are a Ponzi scheme that Bernie Madoff made up. I can, in good faith, keep selling things to people who don't need them. So with that, I'm out.
It's amazing, man. This is historic, right? Like, that this is of like 10 seconds is gonna be for my personal archive whenever I want to remind. And I love the analogy with the Ponzi scheme.
Like, I never believed. This is true. I don't believe banner ads were ever a thing.
Me too, man. Me too.
I can't.
Me too.
I've never met anyone ever who told me they clicked on a banner ad and enjoyed it. So.
Well, okay, look, not sure you are aware of this fact, but if you Google C jokes, you are served with like 54,700,000 results in 0.41 seconds. I read that you were once voted Stand Up New York Comedy Club as one of the funniest men in advertising.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be funny here. I want to be realistic about fun. Where do you draw the line in comedy? What would be the equivalent of the Pillars of Hercules in comedy? In other words, how far can you push it without being inappropriate?
Wow, the Pillars of Hercules. I gotta go back to high school.
Yeah, well, the Pillar of Hercules were like
weren't they the 2 mountains that
yeah, the 2 giants, like mountains that they are like of pretty much like Spain, I guess. Like when you leave Europe and you are now sailing on the other side of the hemisphere.
So Gibraltar and
back in the day, they signify traveling to the unknown, because you didn't know. And to these days, I gotta be honest, I don't know if you ever been to Lisbon, but in Portugal, but if you go to Lisbon and you stand right in front of the pier, you do have, at least I had this feeling of, this is where Europe ends Beyond that point, there
Yeah,
is
it's,
it's like there is the ocean, and then like there is like new
yeah.
land. But yeah, I mean, how do you think about? I mean, there are some amazing comedians. But what do you think? Like, where you do have to draw the line?
Well, in our business anyway, we have to really continue to push the boundaries because we are fighting with unrestricted humor of cable
Right.
and the internet, that there aren't any limits to
Right.
humor. And we're not even fighting, it's not even a fair fight. We're fighting with one hand tied behind our back because there are things we can't do. And it's not because clients won't let us. It's just, there are different rules that ad people are playing by. But we do have to fight because we are competing against.
Right.
And one of the things I learned when I was doing stand-up was how far you have to go to actually get people to rise out of anybody. When you think you've gone really far, you're probably not gone far. You either have to be like unrelentlessly clever or surprisingly shocking to get people to pay attention, one or the other. And I was just talking to last week. I was looking at work, but some of my favorite work that I've seen recently is coming out of Thailand.
Thailand.
Thailand. It's just wacky humor. It's very different than US, but I love it. I think US audience would love it, but it's really wacky, and they don't shy away from what they're selling, right? They put the product right in the middle and they do just really, really wacky things around it that I just find ridiculously funny. And it's not, you could air it, right? You can put it on the air. It's nothing about it that is not right for air, but it's just a different kind of sensibility and humor. I think I would love to see more kind of that work come out of here and out of our industry in the US anyway. And it seems like other countries have found a different kind of funny bone than we have.
It's funny because I think that humor is a big divider from country to country. Like, what makes someone laugh in the States doesn't make someone laugh in Europe or in the UK or like, in any other country. I think like it's a big divider. In advertising as well. I think that's, and that's why, for instance, like, some country do better than others. Like, that's for many years, like, UK has been considered like almost like the king of advertising, because it's true. Like some of the best advertising come from UK because their sense of humor is very refined, where our sense of humor as Italians is very basic, honestly. Like, like we're not that kind of refined when it comes to humor. We're more refined when it comes to design and crafting. Humor, we're not the best. But I do think that I found the humor in advertising in the States to be very monotone. It's just one kind of humor. It's that kind of quirky, and like, even like when the casting is always look the same. And like that you're gonna be even the first 5 seconds of that commercial, oh, okay, that's gonna be funny. That kind of funny. It's always the same. Maybe that's how America laugh. I don't know.
It's hard to know whether they laugh at that because that's what media has fed them, or media feeds them because that's what they laugh at. But we do humor here. Geico does humor, and
it's beautiful.
It's important for the brand. But I'd love to see different variations of humor brought here.
Of course. Last question, and it's a question we asked to all our guests. If there was a wind that blew your sail and you had to give it up a name, what would the name be?
A wind? Well, they call the wind Paula. That's my wife.
Oh man.
When the other winds have died down and there's nothing pushing me forward, my wife is the one back there fanning the. It's
great.
That's an easy answer.
Does she work in advertising?
She doesn't. Good Lord, no. She's she works for a museum.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Danny, thank you so much. This was a very interesting Orange Crossing, and like, I thank you for each of your answer. You were like very sharp and like learn a lot. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, man. It was wonderful. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.